the pitch is looped towards shortstop. Petroselli's back. He's got it. The Red Sox win. Pandemonium on the field.
Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, brought to you each week by the National Sports Collectors Convention. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time and get the latest news from the greatest experts in the sports collectibles world. You can watch us on the Great American Collectibles Facebook page, as well as YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And now your hosts, award-winning sports collectibles author Tom Zappola and Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petroselli.
And one of the foremost experts in computer analysis.
Oh, my God. Listen, I'm going to open up this show by saying one thing. Holy shit. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Welcome to the Great American Collectible Show. Petroselli's in the house.
Yeah.
Mike Heffner, bad expert, is in the house. Joseph Orlando, bad expert, is in the house. And John Taube. John, are you there?
I think I'm in the house.
Oh, God.
It was a technological
We're
challenge.
good.
That's going.
Yeah, Lou, can we kind of hang out our dirty laundry about the challenges of? Why don't you just kind of walk us through what a cluster this was, trying to get the six of us on at the same time?
Except for Joe and Mike, nothing worked. Joe and Mike,
that sums it up.
Yeah. Joe and Mike were fine. Other than that, nothing worked.
I mean, it was like unbelievable. Hefner's been here for 3.5 hours. I mean, it's like freaking crazy.
Four, but who's counting?
Holy Jesus!
One of his kids graduated high school while he was done.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know something though, the miracle of miracles, Petroselli got on. He was able to get on.
I know we've given up on Rico totally.
Rico, we had you written off. I said, no, he's out. He's not going to be on. But you did it. You made us proud.
Well, I went to another computer, one that I could understand, and the new computer that you suggested I buy.
You don't know how to use.
Stinks. It stinks.
It stinks.
Yeah, it's not me. It's the computer.
It's definitely the computer.
I'll be happy to take it, Rico, if you want to get rid of it.
I was going to say, Rico, if you want to get rid of it.
You could have it.
So let me ask you a question before we get started. Rick, what email address did you use?
Oh, forget. No.
I want to hear this.
Well,
what email did you use?
Rico Petroselli 6.
Oh, you did. So you used the new one.
No. I used the old one. I went to the other computer, which has my.
Don't give out your email.
No, I mean, it has the link on it.
Okay.
You can give out the Rico Petroselli 6 because you can't get any of those. So
I probably should. Go to a Microsoft. That's a different one. Anyway, you're right. I know I screwed up. I really did, and I told you before, and it's obvious that I don't know much about computer. All I know is put it on and see what happens. That's it.
That's all I do.
All right, listen, we have a great show today. I've asked these guys to come on. I think, in my opinion, the three gentlemen that are on today are probably the three of the 5 bad experts in this country.
Me and really are.
I mean, these guys, there's nothing. Well, Vince Malta, Richard Angus, he knows pretty much a lot about bats, I would think. There's a couple of other guys, too. What was the other guy's name, John? The attorney, Mike what? Michael?
The original bat guru was Mike Montbriand.
Is he still alive?
Honestly, I don't know, Tom. Haven't heard from Mike in, 15, 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk bats today. We're writing this book, as many of you know, as everybody knows now, Legendary Finds in Sports, Collecting Treasures. There's a lot of bat stuff in it. A lot of bat finds, a lot of epic treasures about some of the bats. Joe has a bat in it. Hef has a bat in it. John has a couple of bats in it that we're going to talk about. Some of them are not necessarily finds. Some of them are epic treasures, but they're all interesting. John, first question I want to ask you. after talking to you over the last month and talking to Joe, I can't believe some of the iconic bats that you have touched that have gone through your hands. Can you just mention 3, 4, or 5 of the bats that have gone through your hands that, I mean, I'll lead it off with the Kirk Gibson bat, correct?
Right, correct.
All right. So, I mean, take that, put it aside. What are some of the other great bats that have come through your hands over the years?
Well, with a limited number of bat authenticators in our industry, quite a few bats have, if not all, have come across the desk. But, notable bats are, I guess we'll start with Babe Ruth, the Yankee Stadium first home run bat. Some of the bats that we've been talking about for the show, the Mickey Mantle 1964 World Series bat.
That's a great story, too. We're going to talk about that story.
Yeah. And that bat, Mantle sets the World Series home run record.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a second. You're telling me that you're talking about the bat that the two guys had, correct?
Yes.
I didn't know that. So you're saying that when he set the record in that.
Tom, now I lost you.
Oh, really? Well, can you hear me now, John? Oh, Lou, I think we lost him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I know he's been having problems. Well, let's talk about Joe. Let's talk about the Breslow bat.
Lou, can you hear me, Lou? I lost him.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah, John, we can hear you. We can see you.
Wow.
But he can't hear us, so I don't know what to tell you.
Write the questions on a piece of paper.
Joe, let's talk about the Breslow bat while we're trying to get John squared away. Walk us through that.
Guys, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. I'll just nod.
Okay. All right. Tell us about the Breslow bat, Joe.
Yeah, I won't give away the whole story, of course, with your book coming together here. But so Lou Breslow was a pretty well-known writer and director. Kind of worked with a lot of Hollywood types. I mean, he worked with Laurel and Hardy and the Three Stooges, and he actually was many years later was the brainchild behind Home Run Derby, that show that featured the likes of Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron competing, I think at the time, for a Starbucks gift card to win a home run contest on television. It was short-lived, but it's one of those nostalgia things for those of us. I used to watch it on I think it was Classic, ESPN Classic back in the day. They would rerun those episodes, but in any event, Lou Breslow worked with Babe Ruth on a series of 5 films, and they filmed it in 1931. It was released in early 32. And these films, the best way to describe them, it was kind of like Babe Ruth meets the Little Rascals. They were short films, and he was, there was a lot of comedy involved. And there were little messages about, maybe how to run the bases or how to field, how to throw, how to hit, that sort of thing in these films. But it really showcased Babe Ruth's personality. And again, it was kind of a funny presentation, but he did this, and it was released, in theaters the following year. Well, Babe Ruth presented Lou Breslow with a bat, and that bat stayed in their family, in the Breslow family, for a very, very long time. I believe it was originally discovered, I guess now, if I'm doing my math right, about 40 or so years ago. And that bat made it into the hobby, and the bat is just preserved, exquisitely. I mean, the inscription on the bat, I mean, you've seen pictures of it. The inscription looks like it was, written yesterday. It's really, really.
Yeah, we may have that. Lou's going to be popping up different images, and when we hit it, we'll stop it there. But go ahead, continue with the story, Joe.
Yeah. So, in any event, with this particular, bat, when it came up for sale publicly several years ago, I wanted the bat mainly because, again, and I think Mike can attest to this, we have similar taste in bats. I like the character. I like the use. I mean, to me, that's what makes bats special when you hold them in their hands. And this Ruth bat, the reason I liked it so much, aside from the fact that it had this great inscription, was that it had the gripping substance on the lower handle, which was consistent with Ruth for the early 1930s. It had tons of use on the label downside. The barrel is compressed with use, and it looked great. It happened to be autographed. It happened to have the provenance from the family. It came from the family originally into the hobby. But years later, and I've told you this story, almost by accident, I was kind of going through images of Ruth during the time, and I was looking at an image of Ruth leaning on a couple of bats, and he was posing with some children for a photo, and the grain on one of the bats facing the camera was really pronounced and very, very distinct. And I did one of those, pauses, double takes, however you want to describe it. And then I start looking at the bat, and I go, oh my goodness, that's the bat. Like, that's him leaning on the bat, posing with the kids.
So you photo matched the bat. You're the one that photo matched the bat.
Well, originally. And then, of course, got third party, verification to make sure I wasn't, insane with what I was thinking. But what I love about it, I mean, there's a great photo of it. There are matches and something that I think is really important for collectors to know out there with all things, jerseys, bats, whatever they are. There's either a match or there's not a match. It can't almost be a match or sort of be a match. It has to be definitive. And what I love about this is that when you look at the grain of the bat and you run from the top of the barrel all the way up that photo, I mean, it's a dead match. I mean, the grain is a fingerprint, and what you're seeing there in circles for the most part are the witch's peaks as it goes up the bat and towards the handle of the bat. I mean, it was just one of those needle in a haystack, discoveries in terms of the match. And that was for me, it just became the cherry on top of everything, because it's neat to see him leaning on the bat. But yeah, he presented Lou Breslow with this bat, inscribed it to him, dated it to him in 1931. And then those series of films were released in early 1932. But you could see with the inscription, when you blow it up and look real close at the autograph, it's just really an incredible shape.
Joe, it looks like a log. It looks like
it's gigantic.
He used a heavy bat, didn't he?
What's interesting with Ruth, though, is by this time of his career, now this bat, which I think weighs in around 37 or so ounces, that was lighter. He started moving to a lighter bat because he realized that bat speed and bat control meant way more. You got to remember, kind of the science of hitting today versus the science of hitting 100 years ago. So for Ruth, this is when he started to transition to quote unquote a lighter bat. Of course, I don't believe there's anyone in the league that uses a bat that weighs anywhere near this bat today, but it shows you how much the game has changed over time.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Joe, that bat, how long have you owned that bat, may I ask?
I have owned that bat, I believe now for about, I think it's about 9 years, something like that.
Because when we research that bat has gone through quite a few hands, winding up with you, correct?
Privately, I wouldn't say
privately, right?
But privately. A few notable people that you
and we mentioned Richard Angus, I believe, being one of them, correct? At one point,
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Lou, bring up, the three bats that we showed you. Those are Heff's bats. John, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, we can hear you and see you. Great.
Good.
All right. Bring up one of the three bats, Lou, the ones that are vertical. No, keep going if you can. Because all right, let's talk about this bat, Heff. Now, this is one of the bats that you own. Is that the Williams bat, Mike?
I have to put on my glasses. Or Lewis to make it a little bit bigger.
Oh, that's a Pete Rose bat. That's the Rose bat.
Yeah,
okay. Now, I know, John, you authenticated it.
Yes.
You own the bat, Heff. Can you give us a little backstory on it? And then we'll go to John about when you authenticated it.
Well, most of my stuff doesn't have a backstory, or I forgot it because I'm so old. So it really, can make stuff up, but that one I do remember. That one came out of a collection out of Cincinnati. I own several Pete Rose bats, but what makes that one special to me is the fact that it's obliterated with ball marks all over the barrel, both sides. Rose was a switch hitter. And then it's got the pine tar, which Rose, used on and off, as John can attest to. But this one has more pine tar on it than I've ever seen on a Rose bat. It has a perfect 14 on the knob. It did come out of the Cincinnati area. I used to have a lot of friends out there who used to pick stuff up. And, it seems like there's an abundance of Pete Rose bats out there because he played a long time, had a long career. But finding really choice Babe Ruth bats is another story. The ones from later in his career, they're around because he saved them. The ones from earlier in his career, and this is a 60s bat, you just don't see them. So that's why that one's special to me.
So, John, a bat like that's really got a lot of character to it. I'm going to call it character. Are those bats like a game-used bat like that, as opposed to a pristine-looking game-used bat? Is that more valuable, John? I mean, a bat like that has really, gone through war.
Oh yeah, without question. See, the opposite is true, with game used. If it's mint, nobody wants it. Okay, if it's in perfect shape. But there is a market for player bats. But something like this, like Hef was saying, it's a perfect Rose bat. From the pine tar to the 14 on the knob to the amount of use on both sides of the barrel. It's just a tremendous, example of Pete Rose from the mid-'60s. It's perfect.
Rico, did you use a lot of pine tar, Rick?
Yes, sir.
And I mean, on the how like your application, was it just where you held the bat? Because I noticed that some guys, their application is above their two hands, and then some right where they hold the bat. Rico, where was yours?
Both.
Really?
I'm getting paid by the word, so I'm not going to say too much. Tom, I used from the handle all the way up because after a while, if you have a long at bat, it starts getting it's not as sticky, so you kind of go up on the bat, get some more fresh pine tar, and then you go back to your grip. But Pete Rose, he's not in the Hall of Fame, all this stuff. He was a great hitter. This guy was some kind of ball player. For all those years, and what he put up there, both defensively, it wasn't great defensively, but he was, adequate enough. But he could hit, man. When he got up there, you looked at him, the way he looked at the pitcher and he looked around, and then he got into that, his batting stance was, he was incredible, I think. Great hitter.
Mike, what's the significance of the number on the bat?
The number on the bat, the
4,056.
4256 was the number of hits that he ended up with to end his career, and that is now the all-time record. And it's funny you mentioned that, Luke. I got the bat and it was already signed, and to me, I don't like the signature on that bat. It's a beautiful signature, but I would prefer that the signature be, on the back of the barrel or underneath the name. I just think it takes away from the overall aesthetics of the bat. You have this big blue Sharpie signature in the middle of the bat, and your attention sort of goes there. And I don't know. Joe probably knows and John know what I'm saying, but
Probably we know too.
I would rather not have that bat signed, but that's the way I got it, and it's a tremendous bat. So
Still
I can't
great
undo
bat.
that.
Whoa.
It really is. I agree with you, Rico.
Thank you.
Didn't you guys back in your Leland days, didn't you auction off, I'm going back, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, his last hit bat? Didn't Leland's auction that off?
Yeah, we actually handled both his last hit bat. His last hit bat he had in his restaurant for a very long time. And, with Pete, you never knew what was what, because Pete had, 5 different rings from 1975 and 7 different silver bats made up. So it was really hard to.
He had debts to pay, Mike.
Yeah, he had a lot of debt.
That's exactly
He
right.
actually story for another time. He has a debt to pay to me. So, but I don't think I'm getting paid. The 4256 bat was one of the last things that he ever sold. And usually when Pete wouldn't sell something, you knew it was good. So, the things that he was willing to sell and was pushing to people, those things sometimes were questionable. But we also handled the 4192 bat, the bat that he broke Cobb's record with, and that belonged to a good friend of mine, Steve Walder, out in Cincinnati. Bought that from Pete, and that was actually one of the exhibits in the trial because he never paid the taxes on the money that he got for that bat. So went in his tax evasion trial. So that bat was with Steve for a long time, and then Steve sold his collection, and we bought it, and we ended up selling it again. But so we handled both of those bats.
Lou, can you bring up the Mantle bat, the one that John sent us? I want to get Joe involved in this conversation and Rico. The one with the authentication. That one. That's it, John, right?
No, that's mine.
Oh, Joe, that's all right. Let's talk about that one first then. No, that's good. And then we're going to talk about the other one. Joe, tell us about this bat.
Yeah, so this is 1966 specific Mickey Mantle bat. And, as Mike was talking about with the Rose, you have players that if you look at their career, so Mantle, first half of his career, didn't use a lot of pine tar. So the character of his earlier bats, although scarce, are not as sort of attractive as the ones from later in his career. So when he gets into the 1960s, you start to see this really heavy pine tar pattern, up, what about 6 to 8 inches up the handle, kind of in that mid to upper handle area. And it really gets caked on well-used gamers. So this was a bat that I was familiar with when it first came into the hobby, probably about 25 years ago or so. And I was able to track it down privately. I always wanted it. It was a bat that I had my eyes on as a collector because of the character, because of the use. As Mike mentioned on the Rose was a switch hitter. You want to see both sides of the barrel pounded. The same thing here with Mantle, of course, one of the greatest switch hitters of all time. Both sides of the barrel are pounded. Of course, you're going to see more on the left side because hitters tend to face more right-handers than left-handers. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where certain players, you have to, Willie Mays is another one where if you like character, then you might have to focus on a certain period of their career because the bats just have a much more attractive look to them where you would never get this look in, let's say, a 1955 Mickey Mantle bat. Again, although scarce, because it wasn't consistent with how Mantle prepared his handle. So that's, it's one of those bats that I think, just from the pictures you can see there, it's just a really beautiful gamer with a ton of use on it.
They were all.
What am I missing? If he's a switch hitter, he's going to hit with the label away from the plate anyway, isn't he? He's going to flip it around.
No, if you're a label up hitter, you're going to strike the as a left-hander, you're going to strike, one side of the barrel. As a right-hander, you're going to strike the other. But if you're batting with the
label up. Okay. All right.
It depends on, everyone's different. Again, we talked about Ruth earlier, label down guy hitting one from one side. But in the case,
I always thought it was label back.
Up guy.
Yeah.
Rico, what were you?
What was I? I was
no. When you hit your label, was your label up, down? Where was it?
Label up.
It was somewhere on the bat. I know that, but seriously, no. It was. I like to have the label up. It was on top. Yeah.
Huh. But listen, we're gonna take.
Wait a second. Let me just 1 second. Just guys.
Go ahead.
Those bats are all pretty much HB, right? Hillrick and Bransby and Louisville Sluggers. Do you have any? I forget what year the Adirondacks started and some of these other bats. Are they also the first ones maybe out? Are they collectibles? Do guys like?
Well, they all are, absolutely.
No, but I mean, do you see any of the other bats besides H&B, Louisville Sluggers?
Want me to jump in here?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Adirondacks. When you say early, I'm going to go pre-1955.
Oh, okay.
And they are few and far between. You'll see them, and they are collectible, depending on who the player is. But that's a tough bat.
That's Hey, by the way, hey Tom, I just want to say one thing. You really embarrassed me because you left me out as an expert on bats.
You are an expert.
I know they hang around caves and they like these little bugs. They're flying around. That's my expertise on them. All right, I'm done.
All right, listen, we're going to take a break. Heff has to leave in a few minutes. So when we come back, Heff, I want to talk about the other two bats that we have of yours. And Lou, I don't know if you can bring up that image that I sent you prior to the show. If you can, that's the other mantle bat.
See what I can do.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. This has been a little nuts, a little crazy, but what the hell?
That's because you're in charge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
You do. He does a great job. We brag on this guy.
What do you think's wrong with this laptop?
1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. Rico's in the house. Heff is in the house. Uh-oh. Bobby's MIA again.
You can
left
you
and came back.
guys?
Here he
Yeah.
is. All right.
Hey, all right, John.
We thought you were MIA. All right, listen. Lou, all right, Lou, I know Heff.
I can't bring that other file up, unfortunately. It's a weird format. So
That's okay. Don't worry about it. If you can bring up one of those, the three vertical bats, let's look at the next one, because I know Heff has to leave in a few minutes.
hang on, I got to get rid of that.
No problem. Rico, did you happen to grab a bat from Michael?
No, the kid, he's had
Sold
some.
it.
Yeah. No, he forgot it. I went over there and he forgot
okay.
it. And but I got a question: is bats? Those bats are more expensive. I mean, to buy if you sign them.
Good question.
Should I sign these All-Star World Series bats in case they want to sell them, which they should?
Heff, can you answer that, or Joe?
I think your signature has value. Yes. Collectors have a preference. Like I don't like the bat signed right in the middle because it takes away from if it's a game use bat. But it's collector's preference. Somebody might like that. Somebody may not. But I mean, I think adding your signature is a good thing rather than a detriment.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that more collectors than not prefer, if it, all things being equal, they'd like to have it signed versus not signed. So I would say yes. If you're thinking about signing them, I would sign them.
All right, so I've got a question. Using Rico as an example, Rico's got his All-Star bats. Rico, your 40th home run bat is at the Hall of Fame, though, right? Okay, so using the All-Star bats as an example, I mean, personally, I'm not a bat guy. I don't know a lot about them, but I don't like seeing a bat like an old gamer signed in blue Sharpie. I mean, is there a certain ink that a player like Rico should use if he's going to sign one of his All-Star bats? John, or Joe, or Mike?
Well, I would say something that's legible. I mean, if you take away a Sharpie at this point, a lot. I think about the Clemente bats. That he signed in ballpoint pen. The problem is they don't last. They don't hold up.
Okay, makes sense.
They fade.
Makes sense. All right, Luke, can we bring up that bat again, if you can? All right. So, is this the Williams bat, Mike?
Let me check it with my glasses.
The Brett.
I'm using one of my high quality photographs there.
I can't tell.
Get credit for that. That is a Ted Williams bat.
Okay, so that's a Ted Williams bat from the 50s, correct?
Yes.
Now, John, did you ever have your hands on this bat yourself?
Well, we did a letter on it. It's beautiful. I mean, this is one of the foremost Williams bats in the hobby.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I mean, I can't. Tell me about the pine tar, man. That pine tar goes up pretty high.
Pretty high. I'm surprised Heff laid it on the carpet.
Yeah. That's old carpet, John. Old carpet.
I'm surprised he used pine tar.
Well, yeah, that was enough. Yeah. Good.
Well, as the story goes, and this comes from former Red Sox bat boy, that Ted had a concoction of rosin and olive oil that he would put together to form the grip substance. And then when it built up too much, he would have the bat boy scrape it off. And then he would start reapplying.
Yeah. We used to use alcohol.
Kind of leads to a silly question I had. Did pine tar have any use outside of baseball bats? And who's making pine tar? Or is that something players made up?
It was for horses.
Horses? And what did they use it in fence mending? That's a good guess.
Fence mending.
Fence.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't get that hard. I don't ever remember getting, even when it caked on, it wasn't hard. You know what I mean? You could scrape it off. It was harder than when you first put it on.
So let me. Are there restrictions, guys, about what we lost John again? Are there restrictions about what you can use, Joe or Heff or Rico, as a substance on a bat? I mean, I know like you can use pine tar, but can you use Elmer's glue? Or, I'm just using whatever.
I don't think there are any
oil.
restrictions of what you can use on the handle. The pine tar led to the famous pine tar incident with George Brett because he was up above the label with the pine tar. But the interesting thing is, a lot of players did different things with their handles. They didn't, some use grip tape and continue to do so today. Some use cork, some used foam, some used tape or other subs, or some shaved their handle, took wood off it to make it thinner. And then, I don't know if there are any restrictions these days either to the barrels because, in the old days, you don't see it so much anymore, but, guys like Ruth even used to score his barrel, to make the hitting surface rougher, so the ball would, so you'd have better contact with the baseball. So none of that stuff. I don't know if altering the barrel is illegal these days or not, but it used to not be.
Joe, can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, I don't think. I think again, it goes back to the science of hitting. Now there were a lot of things that were done, I think, in the past that people thought. Mike brought up the scoring of the barrel. Clemente would do that on occasion, and the thought was with the rougher texture, it would actually sort of catch the ball in a sense. Not literally, but when you're striking the ball, it would create more spin and you'd be able to hit it better. I don't know scientifically. I'm not a doctor if that was ever proven to be helpful, but I think these days, as Mike said, some of the things like lizard skins are very popular on the handle now instead of the classic old white athletic tape that everybody used, back in the day. Now people, in terms of tape, lizard skins are very, very popular. And that's also creates this interesting eye appeal thing with bats. You see these multicolored, bright fluorescent, you see that with, a retired player, David Ortiz would sometimes use these super bright, neon green looking lizard skins. And add it to the handle of his bats, and other players have too. So I think there's a lot of different ways that players prepare their bats, but I think it's a lot more scientific now. So I think some of the, if you want to call it, voodoo or whatever from the past has kind of drifted away.
Yeah,
Rico,
but,
did you ever use?
No. The one thing is, these guys today, they use the pine tar and the
tape
gloves.
Right.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The other thing in the last 20, 25 years, you've had the onset of maple bats. And, Joe mentioned about these, the Technicolor finishes that are on the bats. It almost makes it impossible to score them. The scoring most of the time was done, within the grain of the bat by goring it out to a degree. And now there is no grain like that on a maple bat.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of the bats.
That's right.
Rico, did you ever use tape?
One time, yeah, I tried it. Yeah.
That didn't appeal to you?
No, because we didn't have the gloves, so it kind of scraped the hands a little bit. It made it uncomfortable. And then if you want to use pine tar on that, which you could, then it really got slick.
Rick, would you have used gloves had they been around?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Who was the first guy to use gloves? Does anybody know?
No.
I've seen some pictures
it's
of
a bird.
I've seen pictures of Mantle in the mid '60s with a golf glove.
Yeah, but even before Mantle.
Who was it? Do you know, Rick?
The Hawk.
Ken Harrelson.
Ken
Harrelson, the golfer.
Interesting.
Started using it.
Lou, let's bring up that other. I know Hef's going to go. We got one more image to bring up. That is the George Brett bat, I believe, if you can dig it out somewhere.
Yeah, I could get there. It's buried here. Hang on.
Yeah, that's interesting with his bat.
All right, so
why?
Look at this. This is the Brett bat. Obviously, he used a lot of pine tar all of the time. Any little backstory in this bat, or did you just pick it up
Well,
from?
no, it's one of my favorites. I've had it for a while now. It's a 1980 George Brett bat. He used it in the World Series. This bat originally came right from Brett. He signed it as his bat that he used in the World Series. I think he may have used, a few bats during the 1980 World Series, but one of the things I love about it is the pine tar. It's perfect George Brett pine tar. Pre pine tar incident, you can see how the pine tar goes up above the label. That's the thing that spurred that whole incident. It is, it's got a perfect GB5 on the knob. What's really cool, and one of the things that I think is cool about it is, Brett kept this bat. He used it probably before the World Series, during the World Series. And then what he did is the players went to tour Japan after the 1980 season. He took this bat along with him to Japan, and he used it in Japan, and he had Sadahara sign the back of the bat. And then he brought it back with him. So, bats these days, bats are really, I don't know if too many players consider them sacred because they're going through bats, every day. But, even back in 1980, players considered their bats pretty sacred to them. They kept the same bat sometime from season to season, even back then, even
well, he didn't get jammed too much.
No.
Oh, hit it off the end of the bat, boy. He can hit.
But it's interesting to me how he used this over that entire period of time, and it's just a perfect bat with the perfect characteristics, and it's got a good story with
beautiful bat.
George Brett.
John, you've handled this bat, I'm assuming.
I've seen the bat. Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and Brett, he also he hit 390 in 1980.
Yeah.
Just a great bat.
Joe, I'm going to ask you this question. Heff, I know you're a real vintage guy. Do you have, Joseph, any desire, or do you own any modern player bats today?
I do have some modern era players. Yeah. I don't have nearly the collection that Mike has. I mean, you could see behind him. There are way more bats just behind him in the picture than I have in my old collection. But
that's showing off.
Yeah,
the only place they can get away.
Hey Joe,
yeah.
Why don't you're gonna get an Ohtani bat? Go over there and you must know somebody with the Dodgers. I mean, a game use, sneak up there or just steal one.
I think he has one.
You got an Ohtani?
I do not. I mean, his bats, Mike and John can attest to this. I've never seen anything like a market for a current player in game use like Ohtani. Bats, jerseys. It's unbelievable. He has had multiple bats. He's in the middle of his career right now. He has had multiple bats sell for well into six figures.
Crazy.
And as you said, because now, as Mike said, nowadays they are moving through the bats in part because they're getting more, but they're also cracking more. John brought up the whole, maple thing. A lot of these bats now, they're thinner handled, they're lighter, so they're getting a lot more bat speed. But when they crack, they crack. I mean, they really crack. Yeah. And so there's more being taken out of play. They're because the players and the teams and everything, everyone knows there's a market for it. They're wearing a jersey, they're using bats, and then they're moving on to another one. So even with the quantity of bats that are out there in Ohtani, there have still been multiple prices well into six figures for a current player bat. That has never happened before.
Is Mike, Is Chad Durbin's lone hit bat up for sale?
Who?
Chad Durbin. Scrappy-Doo.
Butch Neiman. Anybody hear of Butch Neiman?
No.
Butch Neiman.
No.
You got me.
All right. How about Connie Mack?
Well,
what is that?
That was a stadium, correct?
What? Oh, Connie Mack Stadium. All right. John, come on now.
I'm kidding, Rico.
This is worth big money. I'll split it with you. Connie Mack, look at this
There's
old.
a million of those out there.
Somebody, Joe, give me a price.
Rico, we're doing a show on bats.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Hey, Hef, I do have a question. Do you have in that collection any modern bats?
I do. And speaking of Ohtani, I thought I have to get one of these things. And I paid over $30,000 for just an average Ohtani bat. So,
wow.
You think about the things you could buy for that kind of money. I mean, you could buy a lot of really cool bats for $30,000. And I thought I need to put one of these in my collection. I don't have a Judge. I need to pick up a Judge yet. But I don't. I have a few Mike Trouts. I'm trying to think who else. Acuna. I just pick them up when I see them. But they have to be nice examples. Except, like I said, the Ohtani is just a run-in-the-mill Ohtani. But it's going to cost $30,000.
$30,000. What's the oldest bat?
Game used?
Yes, game used.
Game used. What's the oldest bat you own?
That I own? I actually have some bats from the 1870s, but they can't be attributed to any players. They're just nice bats from the 1870s.
Interesting.
I wonder if Willie Mays' stickball bat would work there.
If you can find
he
it.
used to play stickball.
If you can find it.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Hey, Rick, why don't you? Can you stick around, or do you have to leave?
I can stay for another 5 minutes.
Okay. All right, that's good. So let's continue on before we take a break, because then has to leave. Joe, you have a DiMaggio bat, don't you? 50-51 DiMaggio bat. I don't think we have the picture of it. I don't know if we do.
Yeah, I sent the picture over. Yeah, I mean, you guys probably have it somewhere.
Lou, if you can dig it out, it's a DiMaggio bat. I don't even know if I sent it to you. I get a little confused, but can you tell us a little bit about it, Joe?
Sure. So DiMaggio, like we were talking about earlier, so he's one of those guys for most of DiMaggio's career, didn't really use any, unique, gripping substance, taping, although you see some with a little bit of tape. But for the most of his career, his bats are pretty standard looking in terms of preparation. But when you get into the late 40s, into the end of his career in 1951, you'll occasionally see a well-used bat with some pretty heavy gripping substance on it, which I think, I'm like Mike. I mean, his Brett bat is beautiful. His Rose bat is beautiful. I found a DiMaggio that came with great provenance. Well, I'll explain in a minute, but it has this really heavy gripping substance pattern from the lower, handle, from the knob, basically all the way up towards the center brand. And it just adds, in my opinion, a lot of character. So from that point of his career, this one's like 50-51. So it's the tail end of his career. You'll see bats like that. If you're talking about the early 1940s, you're not going to see a DiMaggio with that type of gripping substance. So from an eye appeal perspective, it looks great. But this was one that came from a collection called the Cy Jones collection. So Cy Jones was an executive with the Harry Stevens Corporation. And John can talk more about this probably and articulate it better than I can. But they were the leading concessions company at the stadium. So he befriended all sorts of athletes. And so when his collection came out, he had stuff from Ty Cobb, George Mikan, Gene Tunney, Johnny Unitas, you name it. But he was very close to DiMaggio, apparently, because there were a number of items connected to DiMaggio that came through the Cy Jones collection. So that's where it originated from. And it has a vintage autograph, on the barrel. And it's just, it's hammered with use. It's kind of got, checks all the boxes as a collector who likes that kind of thing. It kind of checks the box.
Very cool.
I
know you got to leave.
An Italian collector, a wealthy Italian collector, probably would really pay a lot for that bat. I mean,
unfortunately, it's with an unwealthy Italian collector right now.
Listen, I know Hef has to leave.
That's the only fans I had. The only fans I had were Italians from the North End. Everybody else hated me.
Hef, listen, I know you have to leave. Thanks for jumping in.
All right.
Mike.
All right. Have fun,
Great
guys.
Fun.
All right.
Great stuff.
Right.
Good luck, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Mike Heffner, former president of Leland's. Take care, Michael. All right, listen, we're going to take a break. Actually, no, we're not going to take a break yet. I want to talk to John about the I want to whet people's appetite. Oh, we lost John. Okay, so we can't talk to John about that. Let's do this. Let's take a break.
Talk to him.
I know, really. Let's take a quick break.
Nothing personal.
When he comes back, I want to talk to him about the Joe Carreri bat. We're going to take a quick break. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavali and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you are a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Heffner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we are back. It looks like John has disappeared, Lou, huh?
Hey,
he's back.
I'm here.
Oh, he's back.
Hey, all right. You want the Ted Williams letter, or you want me to wait?
Hold it up. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, it's a handwritten letter. Where am I? Oh,
now who is this to you?
Yeah, to Rico up there.
Can you read it to us?
Yeah, it says this was after the Joe Cronin. He had cancer, and they had a fundraiser for him. And I was telling you, 14 of the Hall of Famers, DiMaggio, Williams, Aaron, who else? Willie, Mickey, all of them signed. It says to Rico, enclosed, thought it was a great evening for someone we all are concerned about. Big league, best, Ted Williams.
Nice, very nice. Very nice. You should frame that, Rick.
What nice? Where? How much? Is it worth anything? What the hell? It's an old letter. John, make me an offer.
I have one. I have one.
He's got that exact letter.
I've got a framed letter in the back.
Ted mimeographed it.
Yeah, Ted made copies of it and sent one to everyone. Lou.
That's not fair. Hey,
Rick, speaking of which, tell us about our friend right now, Charlie Perino, and our good friends at JRI.
I'm going to read this, so I'm looking down. So it says, if you want to have an absolute blast at obtaining some great modern and vintage cards, you got to check out JRI Cards. Our paisan, Charlie, the Iron Ripper Perino, along with Money Marco, isn't that his kid? The Dollar Girls and the JRI gang. No, they're a terrific family. Give you the chance. They give you the chance of participating in opening a graded, unopened, and sealed fresh wax or cello pack of your favorite sport or non-sport favorite. The left eye is going. It's easy. You buy in. Charlie opens the pack, and you get a pack fresh card. It's that simple. As a matter of fact, if you pull that special jewel, the guys at JRI Cards will even have it graded for you on the house. Wow. Featured in the LA Times, ESPN, and USA Radio, JRI is the hottest card pulling show on the internet. Charlie and his staff make it fun, entertaining, and enjoyable. They really do. With his collection of hats and sound effects. And don't forget that JRI donates part of their proceeds to various charities. That's JRI Cards. Check out their exclusive breaks and events that everyone is talking about. They're always digging up cardboard treasures. For a great hobby experience, go to JRIcards.com.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
That's
hey,
it. I can't see it.
I want to, just kind of whet people's appetites regarding the book. As I said, we're talking about a lot of epic treasures in the books besides some of the great finds. I mean, some of the legendary finds we all know about, like the Lucky Seven find, Black Swamp, Uncle Jimmy, the Northeast find. There's a lot of them that we're going to be talking about in the book, but we're also going to be talking about a lot of what we call epic treasures. We're kind of taking a whole look at the hobby and some really cool items that have really cool backstories, one of which John, we talked to John about, and it's the and John, I don't know why, but we're having a problem with the image. I wasn't able to get it to Lou, but we can talk about it real quickly. The 1964, was it 64, John, the bat?
64 World Series mantle.
64 World Series mantle, but there's a little backstory here, and it all has to do with what we've been talking about, provenance. And that's really important. John, can you tell the story?
Well, this bat was, when we found it, when we came upon the provenance, the bat was already residing in the collection of Richard Angrist. who is the primary lender for the museum at Yankee Stadium. So I got a phone call from a gentleman in South Carolina who said he had a baseball bat of Roger Maris from the 1964 World Series. So I said, okay. I said, well, send me some images. Let me tell you what you have, et cetera, et cetera. I get the images, and it's an Adirondack World Series bat from 64 with no appreciable use on the bat.
But it was a legit gamer belonging to Roger Maris.
Yes, it was made for Maris by Adirondack for the World Series. And he was a Louisville Slugger guy, so that's what he was using, and it wasn't the Adirondack. So I tell him what it is, and he insists on coming up to my office to have the bat authenticated, which he does. So he comes into the office with the bat, sits down, and he starts telling me the story. I asked him, I said, well, how did you come upon the bat? So he starts telling me the story about how he and his buddy were at the 7th game of the World Series in St. Louis. The game is over. Cardinals won, of course. Pandemonium breaks loose, and they make a dash for the dugout, he and his friend. And he says, laying by the fence, quote unquote, are 2 bats. We grabbed them and ran up the aisle. So here they are, 2 kids, they got their booty. They go home, and he pulls out of his pocket a photograph of the 2 kids with the bats on their shoulder in front of the garage. And one of them is the 64 Mantle record bat.
Nice.
Okay. And, the story is, again, it's one of those bats with character. It's from 64. You've got mid-handle pine tar on the bat. You have what I would consider a perfect amount of World Series use. And then the real character are the blue and red bat rack marks
on the bat.
From the Yankee dugout and the Cardinal, in Cardinal Stadium.
Wow.
And
John,
that's one of the classic Mantle bats in the hobby.
But you had so basically that when he pulled out that picture, you had handled that bat prior many years earlier without realizing it was the same bat. And then when he showed the photograph was really the additional provenance of something that you had authenticated, correct?
Well, we had authenticated, yes, exactly.
But you never photo matched it.
No,
right.
No. It was matched. There's subsequent work that was done on the bat when photo matching became, as popular as it is today.
So between the time that you originally authenticated that bat,
okay,
and the time that you held the photo in your hand, how many years had gone by?
Oh gosh, it had to have been at that time 10 to 15 years.
And Joe, how many years went by between when you owned the Breslow bat and you photo matched it?
It was several years, yeah.
Right?
I don't know exactly how many, but it was years later. Yeah.
So basically, photo matching is kind of like the cream on the crop, cream on the icing on the cake, as far as the actual authentication and provenance. I mean, that's kind of as good as it gets, correct?
Yes, there's nothing, that it's the pinnacle, if you will, for a collector to have their, the item is photo matched with the player at the plate in action.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, listen, before we end this thing, Lou, what about our friend Tom Finkelmeyer and the Finkelmeyer Insurance Company?
Well, as you all know, the Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency has been insuring collectibles since the early 80s. The late Tom Finkelmeyer wrote the original sports memorabilia insurance policy when no one else in the industry was insuring sports collectibles. A lifelong collector of sports cards, Tom Sr. instilled the love of collecting in Tom Jr., who is the current president of Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency. Tom Finkelmeyer Jr., with 3 decades of insurance experience, has paired that expertise with 50 years of collecting. With a litany of professional designations, including counseling and risk management, Tom covers every aspect of your collectibles insurance needs. Unlike some companies that sell collectibles insurance directly to the consumer online, Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency is the only independent retail agent who specializes in sports memorabilia and collectibles nationwide. Representing all major companies that sell collectibles insurance, there's no agent that insures more collectors, dealers, appraisers, auctioneers, or events in the collectibles hobby than Finkelmeyer Insurance. Our good friend and hobby legend John Taube, maybe you've heard of him from JT Sports, has been using Finkelmeyer Insurance for over 20 years. For more information, go to the FIA. That's Finkelmeyer Insurance, where collecting is our passion.
Rico, do you regret that? I mean, if now thinking back, your first at bat you used. Obviously, you don't know whatever happened to that. Your last at bat in 76, was it 75? No, 76. I mean, do you remember your last at bat?
Well, it was spring training of '77. If you, I mean, that's
I'm talking about during
the season.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I wish I had the first bat. Yeah. I came up in September. I was only 18, I think, and I got a double off the wall. And I think I have the ball, but I would love to have had that bat.
So your first at bat, very first.
Well,
at bat
no, no, it was my second.
Okay.
First grounded out the first time,
and then the second you hit a double.
Second time I hit a double off the wall. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. John, before we let you go, I had asked you at the beginning, before we lost you, some of the great bats that have gone through your hands, some Ruth bats, any other iconic, famous bats that have gone through your hand off the top of your head that you could mention?
Well, I you and I've shared the story with you, the Kirk Gibson bat from the 1988 World Series, where he hits the walk-off home run against Eckersley.
Very cool.
Is a bat that when you pick it up, that the whole event comes back to you immediately.
Yeah.
And it's Joe has seen the bat. It's just like these bats we've been looking at, full of pine tar, full of ball marks. You can see the World Series at bat on the barrel of that bat.
Yeah,
and that's the red ball marks.
You can see it on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
It's magnificent.
What's the white whale that's still out there, John? What's the one that's missing?
Oh, the cold shot bat.
Yeah.
That is still that bat is I don't know if it'll ever surface.
It's never going to surface. Never going to surface. I don't think it is.
I think somebody has it, because I think there is evidence within the hobby and other items that Ruth did have possession of it, and I think he gave it away not knowing what it was.
Yeah, because I mean, I read, actually, you told me, John, we were talking about it. Ruth actually, I think, Joe, you mentioned it once. He used to actually keep stuff in the trunk of his car every once in a while and just hand it out to, friends and, and people.
Well, so, industry, right? There was no industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, who knew?
Yeah. And again, like the Kirk Gibson bat, it's not a find. But those are some of the stories we're going to include in the book that have it's just an iconic piece. It has a really cool backstory to it. So there's going to be quite a bit of those.
Wait a second. Where's the Fisk bat? We're all Bostonians. Where the hell is the Fisk bat?
Where is the Fisk bat? Do we know that?
The Fisk bat was a Rick Burleson bat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He used a Rick Burleson bat when he hit the.
Does he have that bat, John?
I don't think he does. I think that bat's in the Hall of Fame.
Is it?
And Bucky Dent's bat wasn't his bat either, right? He had cracked a bat and borrowed a bat when he hit the home run at Fenway.
Well, no, Mickey Rivers. I think it was the Mickey Rivers bat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Rico, did you use, when you hit your 40th, was that your bat that you used?
Yes. You won.
You won. Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, it was a little bumpy, but we got there.
Oh, it was great.
I appreciate you guys both coming on the show. And Joe, I can't thank you enough. John, what's the website address? GameUseBats.com, correct?
Got it.
And Joe, you have, what's your next big auction coming up, Joseph?
Big one. We've got one in May. We've got one going on right now, a showcase auction. There's a couple of really great bats in there. Miguel Cabrera, Ichiro bats, a few others, but there's a really big one coming up. John helped with some of the authentication, and we're going to see a record-breaking Griffey up in mid-May. Photo match to his rookie season coming up. So
very cool.
HA.com.
Very cool. Rico, we are glad you were able to get on.
Really?
Well, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to talk to either you or Lou.
Don't talk to me. Lou's the guy you got to talk
all right. So maybe I'll get another computer that probably you'll pay for, won't you? No.
I'll tell you what. Give me the one that you have.
Yeah, you got it.
And we'll call it even.
For what? What's the one you're giving me?
Nothing. That new computer is beautiful. You just have to know how to use it. It's like
no, it's not beautiful. It stinks. But anyway, yeah, this was a great show, Joe and John. Really, this was. We got millions of collectors watching and listening, and I would think it was me. How do I get these bats? I love bats? How do I get them?
It's called buying them.
No, I mean finding these bats. You just don't know. Right? It might come up. It might come up.
I tell you what, Reed, you could break into Hef's house.
I think between Joe and I, we have a pretty good idea where a lot of these bats are.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'll talk to you afterwards.
We'll show you how to buy them.
Okay.
All right, guys. Listen, thanks so much.
Guys.
Viewers, great job. I know you had some juggling to do today.
Oh man,
but to Joe, to John, to Hef, to Rico, and to our viewers, thanks for all your support and happy collecting.
Take care.
Take care. Boom, boom, boom.